to a safe third country, including Rwanda, which is our
You've said that with respect, Mr. Hodd, several times. So what's going to happen to them?
Reasons. But I can see that Sir Matthew wouldn't want to say that here in the room today. I just want to...
Yes, why is Matthew Rycroft, and more importantly this government, being secretive about this migrant crisis, asylum seekers or refugees, whatever you like to call them, or more specifically the 40,000 that are already here? And what are the government going to do about them? Well, that's what Tory MP Tim Loughton wanted to know.
Okay, so this is quite an important number, isn't it? And it's a growing number. It can only really be a growing number. So since the terms of the Illegal Migration Act came in, anybody who has arrived in a boat or from another safe third country, the government has a duty to remove them without assessing asylum claims, with a few exceptions, I think, as you've demonstrated before, Mr. Hobbs. That's right.
Correct, although the duty has not been commenced. So the duty doesn't apply. It's set out in the legislation, but that piece of the legislation has yet to be commenced.
So you don't have a duty for anybody still arriving on a boat now to
They are
remove
inadmissible
them?
under the Nationality and Borders Act. The duty to remove measure has not yet been commenced under the Illegal Migration Act.
So that figure of 30,000 or whatever, the now 6,200 number who've come across Canada, 24 across the channel approximately, including over 500, I think, over the weekend, we do not have a duty to remove them as it stands, and they could apply for asylum.
The duty to remove is not in place, but they are inadmissible under the terms of the Nationality and Borders Act. So they're already inadmissible to the UK asylum system and therefore are pending relocation. So their asylum claim is not admitted unless they fall under one of the exemptions.
Right.
The duty on the Secretary of State to remove them has yet to commence.
And that figure is likely to be in excess of 30,000, we think, roughly, but you haven't got the exact
broadly
number.
Since the 7th of March.
Mr. Ridley, you've got the exact number.
So the number that was last published is 33,000, just over. We will publish the next statistics in May.
How old was that 33,000?
End of 31st of December was when we published it.
Right, so it was 33,000 for
After the 28th of December.
Okay, end of 23, to which we can add at least 6,200 who we know have come across in boats. So we are talking about a figure probably in excess now of 40,000.
We'll publish in our next
So
statistics.
just to be clear, is it quarterly figures published just after the quarter?
Yeah, so we publish them in our Home Office stats every quarter.
Okay, but it's not beyond the bounds of rationality that we are looking at a figure of 40,000 plus, and as it stands, they can't apply for asylum. The Home Secretary is not yet obliged to remove them, so they are entirely in limbo.
Correct, they are pending relocation at this time.
Which is limbo, effectively, isn't it?
Well, they're inadmissible under the
the
Nationality and Borders Act, and they
have no status in the UK, and the Home Secretary is not yet obliged to remove them, so they are in limbo. I think most people would describe them. What's going to happen to them? Because if we've now got 40,000 who are looking to remove, of which a great number may be to countries who do not accept them, otherwise they might have been removed under other criteria already, then that's a lot of additional seats on planes to Rwanda when they start, isn't it? Or is something else going to affect their status?
So under the terms of the Illegal Migration Act, it goes to the arrivals after the 7th of March last year. The inadmissibility once commenced and the duty will apply to them. So they will fall under the current terms of the Act to be relocated to Rwanda.
All of them?
Under the current legislation, that is the proposal. Rwanda or another safe third country as provided for in the legislation.
I think the more concise answer to my question was yes. So we've got 40,000 people in limbo. What will happen to them when the duty of the Home Secretary is effective? How will we remove them if they are to countries that will not receive them, of which we know a large number will be, and we've had discussions about those countries before, or are you anticipating that those 40,000 and growing will be on flights to Rwanda at some stage?
So under the terms of the Act and the existing legislation, they're inadmissible to our system, so will fall for relocation to a safe third country, including Rwanda, which is our
You've said that with respect, Mr. Hodd, several times. So what's going to happen to them?
So they will be treated under the legislation once it's commenced.
And what's going to happen to them practically?
So,
40,000 people, practically, where are they going to go?
So whilst they're in the UK, if they were otherwise destitute, they are provided with accommodation and support. Once commenced, they will then be part of the workflow to go through the provisions set out in the Illegal Migration Act that allows them to bring claims on whether it would be imminent, serious, irreversible harm if they were transferred to Rwanda, and then they go through that process.
With respect, we understand the process. What we don't understand is the solution. And Permanent Secretary, is it therefore possible, if not probable, that all or a large part of that 40,000 may be subject to some form of amnesty because practically you just can't remove them?
Well, the government is not planning to do that, Mr. Loughton. The government is planning to operationalise the safety of Rwanda Bill as soon as there is royal assent, which is imminent, probably. So the Prime Minister and Home Secretary will be setting out essentially the answer to your question, which is, what are the steps that are required in order to get the first flights off to Rwanda. The cohorts on those flights will be from that group of people.
Right, but it's 40,000. And the Home Office is not anticipating anything like 40,000 in the near future.
Yeah.
They are going to remain in limbo, aren't they, unless you grant an amnesty?
Well, the Prime Minister and Home Secretary will set that out in very soon.
So the Home Office never wants to talk about an amnesty, but I do recall when I was first elected in 2005, there was something that was an amnesty, effectively, for similar reasons. But I can see that Sir Matthew wouldn't want to say that here in the room today. I just want to...
Very interesting, eh? Well, what are they going to do with these 40,000 that are already here? If they're not going to give them an amnesty, what are they going to do with them? They cannot all leave them in limbo, or can they? I don't know. They certainly cannot all go to Rwanda, so where are they going to go then? Now, I'm not going to blame these guys, because if the government don't know what they're doing, and clearly, from what I can see, they clearly don't, these guys won't either, or will they? What do you guys think? Let me know down below, and I shall bid you farewell, and take care, my friends. Mental, innit?